What's going on, Nets fans? Welcome back into the Brooklyn Boys Show. Connor Long and Gary of BK Nothing But Nets join us today. I'm your host, Josh Woolever. Today we get to break down everything to do with the Nets draft. Let's start with our guest, Gary. How you doing?
Doing good. It's great to be a part of this. I love what you guys are doing. I'm
Thank
honored
you.
to be here. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Connor?
Gary, thanks for hopping on with us. Obviously, love your podcast. You're kind of one of the OGs when it comes to Nets YouTube, so super happy to be with you here on the show. Josh, great to be with you. Second live show here on the channel. A bunch more coming, especially with Summer League here on the horizon, but appreciate you all. You got any questions for us? Go ahead, throw those in the chat. We're going to get to those. Again, anything Nets draft. Happy to get to that. Any summer league thoughts? So we're gonna be here talking Brooklyn Nets basketball. So appreciate you all tuning in.
Absolutely. I think the place where we have to start is the number 8 pick. Gary, talk to us. We know you said before the show that you were shocked. You were live at Barclays Center for the draft when you heard Yegor Demin announced. What were you thinking?
On my podcast, we did a mock offseason, and I traded down to 14 and took Igor at 14. So I wasn't against the pick. I just was not like that. Wasn't on. I didn't foresee that coming. Right. I didn't hate it. I was like, okay. And I was sitting right next at the draft. I was sitting right next to a BYU guy who had like a BYU flag, which was interesting. No, I'm not against the pick. Like Yegor, that his name is Yegor. We've been calling him Igor for
yeah. I picked that up 2 days ago.
I'm gonna try to get this right. Yegor, he's the best ball handler. He's the best passer. He's the best distributor in the draft class. It's if you guys wanted a player with upside, you got to play with upside. Could he miss? Yeah. If he can't shoot, he's a backup point guard. Like if he can shoot, he could be a 20 and 10 guy in the NBA. He's not a rebounder. He's not a hyper athlete, right? But if he turned into Lonzo Ball, let's say, and you got him with the 8th overall pick, is that so bad?
It's not great. Like I would have much rather taken a swing on an internet. I think all the international guys, first off, I'm going to start there, have way higher ceilings than Yegor Demin. Yeah. I was for taking a big swing on someone, whether it was an international prospect like Noah Esenge, who's super, super young, can shoot the 3 ball, has a lot of upside. I just don't think Yegor Demin has a lot of upside. He reminds me of a guy with a high floor who, if he hits, maybe he's in middle to end of the first round type guy. If Noah Esenge hits, he's a franchise-altering player. That's the way I think about it. I was for taking the big swing. Even a guy who's not an international prospect, but young with a very high ceiling, center Kamen Malawach from Duke. I would have loved if the Nets took Malawach and found a way to ship Claxton out of town. Just given all the options they had on the board at 8, it's puzzling to me that they took Demin. Quite frankly, I think there was a chance Demin would have been available if they waited till 19.
Absolutely, and I think this ties back into Sean Marks' lack of aggressiveness. The guy had 5 first-round picks. I certainly thought that the Nets would only end up taking 2 or 3 of those picks by the end of the night, even though they do trade that second. Connor, I think you're right. Malawach brings a ton of upside, and frankly, this was a big-time reach on Demin because, as you and Gary both alluded to, I don't even know if this guy's a lottery pick, and you draft him at 8 with 2 much bigger guys with upside-wise, in my eyes, Demin and Esenge. I really didn't love this pick. I just thought overall Sean Marks tried to do too much with this situation. He tried to nail the pick, and I think he overthought it. He should have just gone higher upside in Malawach.
Gary, were you in the boat of potentially looking to trade up a few spots, like packaging a couple picks together, wanting to move into the top 5?
So this was interesting, right? Because I was waiting outside. I got to the arena really early, and I was outside talking. There was a bunch of 76ers fans, and I was talking to the Sixer fans, and we all agreed to this trade. I'll just run it by you guys. It was Cam Johnson, 19 and 22 for Paul George's contract and 3. So you're getting Ace Bailey and taking on Paul's contract. They all jumped on it. The Philly fans all jumped on it, and I was like, "Let's do it!" Right?
I think Philly,
they get off that contract, and we get our player of the future.
I think they would have loved to trade back at a 3,
and we still would have kept 8, so we would have had 3 and 8. You know what I'm saying? We could have walked away with Ace and value-wise, which is what
Oh my goodness.
Oh, we wouldn't have to give up 7. So the 8, excuse me. So the pick
no,
swap
it was
wasn't even in there.
19, 22, and Cam Johnson. So
That
you're
would have been
keeping 8.
perfect.
Yeah.
That would have been a dream.
Right. I would have loved to get rid of. We had the cap to take on Paul George. I would have loved to get rid of Cam Johnson. That would have been awesome, Gary. Too bad Sean Marks doesn't think like us.
Well, he sat and picked 5 times. I got there. My co-host Dylan said there's rumors we're gonna sit and pick 5 times. Like, we're not gonna take 5 rookies. Like, stop.
Right.
3 of which were point guards.
And we did. Yeah, non-shooting point guards who all kind. I know Trey is speedy and little. Well, he's not really little. He's like 6'4", but he's a speedster. But none of them can shoot, so you can't even put them on the court together. You can't play Troy and Devin together because now you got 2 non-shooters on the court. Like,
exactly. Yeah. Well, Gary, what were your thoughts? Who would you say is the best value selection for the Nets between? Who would you say?
Wolf by far. I think Wolf is.
Yes.
I think he may start right away. I think like
Definitely.
ready. I think he's pro ready. I think Wolf can play the 4 or the 5. That's a value pick at 27. That's a really good pick. Like,
Gary, there's a chance. There's a chance in my eyes he's starting over Claxton by the time the season ends, and Claxton's just a role player.
I just want Claxton gone.
Yeah.
I just want him gone so much.
Just
for anything at this point.
Just stockpile the reasons Sean Marks should be out of the building.
I saw the stat the other day. Marks is the 4th longest tenured GM in basketball. It's Popovich 1, Riley 2, Presti 3. Marks, look at the list he's on.
Yeah, it's just about as all those guys are competing for a championship year out.
He's never been out of the second round of the playoffs. Like he had KD, Harden, Kyrie all on the same team and couldn't get it out of the second round of the playoffs. He's 4th on the list behind those 3 legends. It's like
that's crazy.
This is the wildest list ever.
Yeah, and it doesn't even feel like there's serious talks of him, like of them moving on from him.
He's here.
Crazy.
He's our GM. Like, there's one person in the world who thinks he's good at his job. It happens to be the owner of the Nets, so no one else's opinion matters.
Exactly. One thing I will say about Danny Wolf is it's great to have a 7-footer on the Brooklyn Nets for the first time since Brook Lopez. Yeah. I mean, the Nets, we were talking about this before the show, the Nets have always been a team to go small, put in a 6'10", 6'11" big, which we've seen with Claxton. Even a guy like Day'Ron Sharp is in that same height range. I want a guy who's over 7 foot, and potentially the Nets could even look at a 2-big look, whether it's unfortunately Claxton starting alongside Wolf or you put Day'Ron Sharp in there with Wolf. Also, I really like that Wolf's able to shoot. Wolf isn't a guy like Claxton who has some height but can't shoot beyond 6 feet within the rim. Danny Wolf can shoot. He can shoot the 3 ball. He can develop into a solid shooter. Really, really like that pick overall for the Nets. And my favorite pick, though, I would have to say is the Drake Powell pick from UNC. I think this is a guy who's super athletic, can develop into a great defender, and can shoot the 3 ball. Great catch and shoot 3 guy at UNC last year. Love the athleticism, love the defensive upside. Gary, what were your thoughts on Drake Powell?
Yeah, that was the other pick I liked. I liked that pick. I wanted Noel, Asa Noel at that pick. I had my heart set on that. So like anything other than that was going to be a disappointment to me. But then when I went back and I really watched the tape on him, Drake Powell's a good pick. He's an athlete who can shoot. He can defend multiple positions. It's a good pick. That's a good pick.
Absolutely. Guys, make sure you drop down below this video, smash that like, hit subscribe. 39 of you watching really helps the growth of this channel. Go check out Gary's channel as well. He does some great stuff over there with the BK Nothing But Nets podcast. Again, Gary, thanks so much for sparing some of your time to be with us. I think Danny Wolf is an extremely interesting pick. You're right, Connor. This is a guy who handles the ball like a point guard and really can pass the ball well, but he's also 7 foot tall. He grabs rebounds, and he's a good interior defender. Danny Wolf feels like an all-around contributor, and to be honest, that's not something we had last year in Brooklyn.
Yeah, any thoughts there?
No, I second everything Josh just said. He's a versatile player. He can play multiple positions. He can handle the ball. He's a good player. I was surprised he dropped to 27. And I know he was really surprised, apparently.
He was crying.
Yeah. There were people who liked him over Queen. That's what some teams thought of him. So
yeah,
it's a good pick.
Absolutely.
What were your thoughts on Traore? I know we touched on him briefly, but thoughts on his kind of his fit with the Nets. He's someone I honed in on maybe in that 22, 26 range. I didn't love him at 19, but again, I think this is a shooting guard who could develop into a solid shooter and provide some defensive value. Just don't like the fact that you took him that high with other names on the board who I think could fit other holes.
If you would have took a Senge at 8, I would like it because you'd be going really athletic, right? Like at least I have, okay, this is what I am. I'm a high-flying running team, right?
There's an identity.
Yeah. I a year ago, he was thought to be a top 5 pick. And I looked at him, I said, okay, I don't see that. He is probably the fastest guy in the draft. He's quick. He's just not, to me, he's not a developed basketball player. Look, it's an upside swing, but it's going to be a project. Like he's probably a guy that's going to start in the G League, and like, there's nothing wrong with that. He's 19 years old, like that's fine. But to me, that's an unnecessary risk, especially after you just took a point guard at 8. Like,
yeah,
it was a pick that, again, on its own, I don't love the pick, but it's not terrible. It's a high upside, high risk pick. Okay, like it might work out, it might not.
That was the big swing. Like I would have rather taken that bigger swing on a Senge, for example, than take.
I don't think a Senge is even a risk. Like I think a Senge can either be a high caliber role player or an all-star. Like there's not like.
And he has a higher ceiling than Demon. So every which way you look at it, I think he's more fit for the league now, and he has more potential to grow into something bigger later. I mean, like the Demon pictures all around did not make sense to me.
It set back the entire draft.
Yes, I'd have taken value walk there, but like
I was a huge Malawatch guy. Huge.
I would have been okay. Like I wouldn't have loved this, but if the Nets were so big on Demon, I think he was going to fall out of the top 10. I think what they could have done is gotten their guy in a Senge or Malawatch, whoever they preferred with that pick, and then traded back up maybe from 19, 4 or 5 spots to land Demon because
wouldn't even have to give up that much. Would
I'll
not
give you
even
19 and 22 for 14, right? Like
yeah.
19 and 26. I'll give you 19 and 26.
Everybody says yes to that. There's no team that says no to that.
Gary, would you have preferred like Jace Richardson or Yakahonis or however you say his name?
I don't want Yakahonis. I did not want him. That was one of the guys.
Yakahonis and Demon.
Trey Johnson were the guys I did not want.
Would you have preferred Jace Richardson over Trey?
Over. Yeah.
Okay.
Jace
Interesting.
Richardson. I would have taken Drake Powell over him, if you know what I'm saying, at 19. But we got him at 22 anyway. So I wanted Noel at 19. I wanted a lot of guys at 19. Trey was one that I did not want. But I do see the upside in him. Like, there's potential in him. It's just going to take a while.
Do you see any of the guys starting on the 2025 Brooklyn Nets? And do you see any of them, spending the majority of the season on Long Island? What do the roles look like for these different rookies?
Day one, maybe Yegor. It depends what they do with D'Lo. Do they bring D'Lo back? Like, I kind of think they're going to bring D'Lo back. I know he's been linked to Milwaukee, but I don't think that Milwaukee's got space to get him. Dallas was the other team he's been linked to. I don't like. It makes no. D'Lo is one of my top 10 favorite Nets of all time. I love D'Lo. It makes no sense to bring him back, especially when you just drafted 3-point guards. That being said, Marks will probably bring him back because Marks likes him.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest. If they don't bring him back, Yegor will start, and I think by the end of the season, Wolf will be a starter. Probably not day one, but by the end of the season, I think Wolf and Yegor will be starting. And depending on what you do with D'Lo, I think Yegor may start.
This is the last thing I'll say, and then we can get into a couple questions from the chat, or if you guys have anything you want to add on to this. If Drake Powell develops as a wing shooter and he plays as well as he did in college on the defensive side of the ball, I'm imagining him as I said this on a podcast that Connor and I recorded last night that'll be coming out soon. I could see him playing the role that Alex Caruso did on this Thunder's finals run, like pivotal guy on the defensive end who comes in and occasionally hits a 3, but that's not what he's there for. But he's just an all-around team contributor. And if the Nets get a guy like that at 22, I'll give Sean Marks a little bit of the leeway back for this terrible draft.
No, that pick. It's a good pick. Like it's very low risk, and he's a high energy player who can
Yes.
shoot and he can defend. I think to me we can say goodbye to guys like Jalen Wilson, probably Zaire, and he's gonna have that role.
And I feel like he's just, I mean, I haven't watched a ton of his film, but I feel like he's a guy that slots right into Jordy Fernandez's system. High energy guy,
High IQ.
scrappy, willing to put his body on the line. That just feels like a guy that Jordy and the rest of the team would feed off that type of energy. Which
Jordy means guys who can make plays, who have high basketball IQs, and are going to
Yes.
play scrappy.
and
I
they're
think
committed.
and I think he brings all those tools to the table. One more thing here for you, Gary, about the draft. Ben Saraf, the Israeli guard they took with the number 26 overall pick. Is he a guy you see on Long Island, given the fact that he's kind of the third guard they took in the draft?
Yeah, I don't really understand this pick at all. He's definitely a Long Island guy to me. He was a guy that I kept consistently seeing going early in the second round. I didn't understand this at all. That was the mind-blowing pick to me. I said I don't mind any of the picks besides that one. The Wolf pick, the Powell pick, it was just a culmination of all the picks which seemed weird to me. But that Saraf pick, he can't play the two because he can't shoot. So now you just have another non-shooting point guard. That pick blew my mind. I really didn't understand that pick at all.
We have Keon Johnson for that.
Exactly.
Well, Keon Johnson is a shooter. He's just not a shot maker. He shoots plenty. He shoots a lot.
Oh.
He just doesn't make it.
He shot like 30. He shot like 28%.
I do not need another
But he shot a
guy
lot of them. He shot a lot of them.
I do not need another guy missing threes on this team. But to me, that pick made no sense. Saraf never fit that puzzle. After you already had two guards that brought, I mean, at least somewhat better shooting aspects to the table. Saraf at 26, I mean, do something with that pick besides take another point guard. That's like the last thing you could have done. Deal that, trade it. Maybe I was a guy who was looking for maybe Kalkbrenner to get drafted as a guy they could develop down in the G League. Big-time interior center who, he's a big-time shot blocker. What is he,
Or Maxime Rayon from Stanford.
Yeah.
I think it was.
Yes, but just not another pointless, not shot-making guard. Who did that help? What does that pick do? That's one I don't understand.
I thought that was the perfect time to take Rasheer Fleming. I thought Rasheer Fleming was a Sean Marks guy, 6'9", athletic, 7'2" wingspan, which allows him to guard 3, 4, 5. Well, I thought Fleming was a steal there, and then he ended up going at 36 with the pick that's traded. And that pick at 26 would have made way more sense to me than Saraf. I didn't understand the Saraf pick at all.
Absolutely. Appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure you smash that like button and hit subscribe right here on the Brooklyn Boys Show. Connor Long, Josh Woolever, joined by Gary from the BK Nothing But Nets podcast. Gary does great work on his podcast, so go over BK Nothing But Nets podcast. Shoot him a sub if you guys got any questions. You could throw those in the chat. Appreciate you all. We'll be definitely hitting on some Nets free agency as well later in the show. A little preview as free agency kicks off for Brooklyn in just 2 days. So appreciate all of your support here on the show. Where should we start off in the chat? We'll go to Lou first, who starts off. Says, question, would you guys look at this draft completely different if we took Malawach instead of Igor and took Fleming instead of Saraf and kept the second round picks to take Theodore? Gary, thoughts?
All right, so let me run this through my little cheese grater here. So we have Malawach, Traore, and then we have Powell, Fleming,
And Wolf.
Oh yeah, look, I still don't love picking 5 times, so that's like the downside. But that is a much better draft class than we had, 100%. That's way better than what we did. But I still don't love picking 5 rookies. I'm just not a fan of that.
Josh.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with what Gary said. I was what I really thought they would do is trade up to 9 with Toronto is something I was looking at. They ended up taking Colin Murray-Boyles out of South Carolina, but I don't think the Raptors would have minded at all trading back. I thought even if you drafted Demon, which was a huge mistake, you still had the opportunity to trade up, get a Senge, get Malawach. Instead, Sean Marks sits on his butt and doesn't do anything and waits for the picks. But Fleming instead of Saraf makes a ton more sense. Malawach Malawach instead of Igor. I was saying that all along throughout the pre-draft process. That would have made me much happier. I think we had a comment here on the 5 first-round picks if we go up from Lou. Good thing they had 5 first-round picks. Can't imagine if we had 3 and they were all point guards. That's what it felt like, Lou. This draft felt so pointless.
5. Imagine that though. They took 3 guards. They took Demon, Trey, and Saraf, 2 guys who can't shoot, and 1 guy who has a big difference from his ceiling to his floor. That would have been an F for me.
I mean,
that would have been an F.
What do they do with the other 2 picks is the question. But even
no, he said if they just had 3 picks and they
and if those were the 3 they allocated them to, I mean, Sean Marks would have been out the door by now if that was the case.
I still don't think he would have been fired.
Yeah, me and Connor are locked up on that.
Unfortunately not, but
he's got the safest job in America. Yeah.
That guy could do whatever he wants in the Nets.
The Nets could win 5 games and spend the number 1 overall pick on someone who's supposed to be a second rounder in next year's draft. He wouldn't get fired.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Smash that like button. Hit subscribe. Toss your new questions in the chat. We'll get to those in a second.
Highlight Haven says, how does adding Man affect any of these picks? The way I look at Man, Gary, I think he's a solid rotational wing guy who offers some upside. He's not too old. He's under 30. I'm not going to count on him for much, but I really like that deal. The fact that the Nets were able to pick up a first-round pick, not give up anything, and just take on his contract. I mean, I expected that to happen because the Nets have so much cap space in the league. I think they're going to be involved in a lot of trades that involve huge salary cap dumps, but really, really like that move for Brooklyn. Get a solid rotational wing without giving up anything and gain a first-round pick for just taking on a 3-year contract, which isn't great, but it's not going to kill you.
Yeah, it's only $47 million on the rest of the deal, so it's not that big of a long-term commitment. And then you end up getting Drake Powell, who I touched on before, who I love. So I thought this was an overall good trade for Brooklyn.
No, I agree, and I think Terrence Mann is going to be gone before the season starts because he had tweeted something because he's from Brooklyn. He was so happy to be home, and about 10 minutes later, he deleted his tweet.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I think he's going to be gone. If they kept him, I'm fine with it. It's not a ton of money. It's $15 million a year, but like he can help a good team. He doesn't really have much of a role on a bad developing team like the Nets. So I think if the Nets can get a protected first form and a salary dump, I think they'll take it. Like an expiring salary and a protected one, I think they'll trade Man. I don't expect Man to be here when the season starts, honestly.
Lou, how do you guys feel about Maxwell Lewis getting waived? Gary?
I don't feel about it at all. I like Maxwell Lewis. He's a great locker room guy. I like him a lot. I think he's like Jesse Winker on the Mets. Like this, a screw loose a little bit with him, right? But I like Maxwell Lewis. But I mean, I'm not going to lose any sleep over losing Maxwell Lewis.
Yeah, he's a guy I looked at and I thought over time could develop into a role player at the league at the NBA level. I just don't think the Nets were on it. His contract was guaranteed. I think July 6th it was if the Nets didn't waive him by then. So you get his salary off the books. It opens up a roster spot. I mean, Gary, when you look at the Nets roster, there really aren't too many roster spots up for grabs, given the fact that they made 5 first-round picks this year. They're most definitely going to re-sign Cam Thomas, and Day'Ron Sharpe is most likely to receive a deal. I mean, there are not many roster spots left, and then you maybe tie into the fact that you add 2 free agents, would that be like a guy like Jonathan Kuminga, who we'll get into, Quentin Grimes. When you look at it, there aren't too many roster spots up for grabs. So if you're a Summer League guy like Drew Timme, who's going to be fighting for a roster spot, you better win Summer League MVP if you want to be playing on the 2025 Brooklyn Nets.
No, I tend to agree. Like for a really bad roster, it's kind of a loaded roster. Like there's not a lot of questions. Like we kind of know for better or for worse what we're going with next year.
Absolutely, yeah. Josh, what are your thoughts? Do you think any Summer League guys can make the roster?
I think there's a couple. Maxwell Lewis wise, I mean, you touched on it, Connor. You got to make some room somewhere. When you draft 5 first-round picks, there is some openings got to be freed up, so that these guys can either get 2 ways or a couple of those guys can get NBA contracts. So I don't hate the Maxwell Lewis being waived. He didn't contribute much. A little over 14 minutes a night, I think it was, and only 2 buckets a night. So Maxwell Lewis didn't mean much to me. I didn't hate him. Chris B, appreciate the support down there in the comments. Smash that like button, hit subscribe. Appreciate it all. 52 of you guys watching, so thanks so much for the support. As for Summer League, guys, I honestly think that Drew Timme played well enough in his last 10 or so games in Brooklyn after getting the call up to have earned his roster spot then. But when you draft 5 first-round guys, it just feels like he has no place here.
Yeah, when I look at a guy like Drew Timme, to me, he's nothing more than a 12th or 13th man on an NBA roster and a G League player who can average maybe 20 points a night for you. I don't expect Drew Timme, even if he cracks the roster in Brooklyn, I don't expect him to make an impact whatsoever. I think he's pretty much just a reserve for this team, but I see him on Long Island.
Yes, agreed.
Gary?
No, I tend to agree. He's especially with Wolf. He's a Long Island guy. I mean, there's just not any minutes for him, so you might as well just keep him in Long Island. We still got like Whitehead, who has to get minutes. Like we're loaded with guards.
I like Whitehead.
We talked about that last night on Connor.
Yeah, Josh and I were talking about that on the phone last night. I like Whitehead. The thing is, he was playing well, and then he asked to spend the rest of the season on Long Island, like to help rehab his knee, and he was playing well. Like he was playing fine throughout that knee injury that prompted.
Like that. That's a bad sign to me. Like,
So I like him as a player. I think he's a great. I hate that he said that.
Yeah.
I think that's a bad look from like a character perspective. But I think overall he's a great player, and great might be a bit of a stretch. That's what he was in college. I think he could be a role player on this Nets team. Anyone who's young with upside, I think, deserves minutes on the Brooklyn Nets.
Well, like they said, if Whitehead can become a knockdown shooter, he was the number 1 or number 2 recruited player in his high school class. That's what he was thought of coming out of high school, and then he got hurt, and he got hurt again in college. But, like, there's a lot of upside there. If he can ever become a knockdown shooter, he could be an all-star caliber player. Now, it seems like he may have lost some athleticism, but he's only 20. He can get it back, right? Like, he's not 32. Like, Whitehead, to me, is a guy that needs to get real – look, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It's a tank year anyway, right? Like, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But Whitehead, to me, is a guy that needs to see a lot of minutes.
I mean, he just has to stay healthy. I don't think the Nets have given him a fair shot. I don't think he's given himself a fair shot. He hasn't been able to stay on the court at all in his time in Brooklyn. So, frankly, Connor, going back to what you said, he could be great. I haven't seen enough at all to label him as a guy that could do something for this Brooklyn Nets team. He's got to stay on that court and prove something to me. Right now, Derek Whitehead means nothing to me. I'm all for giving him his fair shot, but after this year, when the Nets feel like they're ready to start competing, I'm going to be done giving Derek Whitehead his fair shot because, time's up. This is the NBA. It's the business. We got to move on. If he can't stay healthy and he can't prove himself, he frankly does not have a spot in Brooklyn. I understand there's the upside. I love upside. That's what this entire Nets season is going to be about. He's got to show something.
Availability is the best ability. That's the bottom line in the NBA. Gary, to kind of transition over to free agency, which teams are allowed to start negotiating with external free agents in 2 days from now, June 30th is when that window opens. Are there any guys on the external market that you're really big on that you want to see Brooklyn make a move at?
I'm a huge Kuminga guy. I think Kuminga works in any offense and any defense in the NBA. He's been a little inconsistent with the 3-ball, the same way that Jaylen Brown is inconsistent with the 3-ball. That doesn't mean that he can't make them. He can. It's just a consistency issue. I think that's something a shooting coach should be able to work out. I want to sign Kuminga, but I'm going to preface that with this. If we do that, we have to get Claxton off the books, which I think you can do. And the reason why I say that is because you drafted Claxton on athleticism and upside. I mean, you signed him. You extended him on athleticism and upside. You're going to sign Kuminga on athleticism and upside. He hasn't actually done it in the NBA. He's never warranted a $25 to $30 million a year contract by production. But that's what he's going to get because someone's going to give it to him. You can't miss on both those guys. You can't have $50 million or more tied up in misses, in bad contracts, right? So if we get Kuminga, we have to get Claxton off the books because it's just too risky to have the both of them.
LBL says, I don't want Kuminga at all. I'd be okay with Kuminga because he fits the bill of someone who has a lot of potential, who you could bring into the building, who, yes, like you mentioned, Gary, has been very inconsistent at times. But I think he's kind of a scheme fit, if you will, for for Brooklyn and Jordy Fernandez. I think he fits a lot of what the Nets are trying to do, bring in guys with high ceilings who are quickly able to adapt to new systems. That's what Jordy Fernandez has been preaching ever since the day he became the Brooklyn Nets head coach. I think Jonathan Kuminga is a great fit. You mentioned getting Nick Claxton off the books. If the Nets were to trade Claxton on a salary dump type deal, what do they get in return? Because I think the biggest thing is I think you can get a first for Claxton, but the team that gives you a first, a team that gives you the first, I don't think is taking on his full contract. What do you think the Nets would give in return if it was just a full-on salary dump?
So I don't know if you guys remember Kyle Korver, but the Nets drafted him.
Yep,
And
he was the shooting coach for a little while.
They traded him for a fax machine. That's a true story. I would take that in return for Claxton. You want to give me a fax machine? I know we don't even use fax machines anymore, but I would take that for Claxton.
Can you cut Claxton or no?
I don't think you can.
Are you able to? I don't think you can cut Claxton.
No, you can't cut him. But whatever you want to give me for Claxton, I really just want to get him off the books. At this point, the trade that the Lakers offered for Mark Williams that they had to rescind on after the failed physical, I would jump at something like I don't even care.
Yeah.
I just want Claxton not here.
Get Hachimura in return.
Oh, I'd love Hachimura.
I love it.
Yeah.
Lou hops back in on the chat. Do you really think Kuminga would be a Sean Marks guy? He wants to make a quick, free-flowing offense. I don't see him wanting Kuminga. Gary?
I don't see why Kuminga couldn't play in a free flow offense. I mean, I don't like I don't disagree with the first half of that statement. I just don't know why Kuminga wouldn't be able to fit in an offense like that.
Kuminga's been able to adapt wherever he's gone. I think he could quickly adapt to what Jordy would implement. Like a guy I really like though, a little bit similar to Kuminga from like an age standpoint is Quentin Grimes. He was with the Sixers this past season, still on the younger side. He's 25 years old. Obviously, a lot of people remember him from his time with the Knicks for his first 2.5 NBA seasons. But last year on Philly, he played over 30 minutes a night. I mean, availability was an issue. He only played in 28 games, but mostly because he was traded midway through the season. He was coming off an injury when he was being traded, but averaged over 20 points a night for Philly on solid shooting. Let me see here. He shot 46.9% from the field, and he was solid from 37.3. Could use some improvement from 3-point range, but he's been able to shoot the 3 ball. I really, really like Quentin Grimes. The question is, what does a deal look like for a guy like Grimes who's kind of bounced around over the past few seasons? Would you be content handing him out a multi-year deal, Gary?
I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit. I missed like 3 seconds of what you just said.
Sorry. Would you be okay bringing in Quentin Grimes on a multi-year deal? I think he's someone who's younger with upside, who's averaged over 20 a night last year in Philly.
He averaged 20 on the team. Look, my short answer is no. I don't want to bring Quentin Grimes in because I think he's going to get overpaid. But if you're telling me the contract is doable, like it's like a Terrence Mann type deal for sure. Other than that, like I can't. Grimes overachieved on a short window and is going to get overpaid for it.
Yeah, and with what the Nets just did in the draft, Connor, I think that Jordy and Sean Marks, whether we like it or not, are going to force in Yegor Demon minutes because they want to see what they have. Like, where does Grimes?
Grimes is more. He's more of a. He could fit as a 3. Like, if you deal Cam Johnson, which I think is malpractice,
Absolutely.
if they go into the season with him on the roster, Grimes could be the starting small forward because the Nets had 5 first-round picks. Yet I don't think they have a viable starting small forward right now.
Yeah.
But like Marks doesn't view it that way. Like Marks views, in my opinion, and I don't know. I haven't asked him about it, but I think he views Nick Claxton as your center of the future, and he views Cam Johnson as your 3. I just think that's the way he. I agree, but like he's not trading Cam Johnson unless he gets a Bridges Hole in return, which he's obviously not going to get. And he's not. He gave Claxton $100 million. I said that last year when they gave it to him. Like, all right, I'm cool with bringing him back, but that's too much money. Like, if you're going to get $100 million, let him go to Detroit. Like, I can't bring you back for $100 million. Like, if you can get it from somewhere else, God bless, take it. But you can see when Marks likes somebody, he gave Patty Mills Bruce Brown's money. Like,
yeah.
You already had Seth Curry. You didn't even have a role for Patty Mills. But it's like, no, I like Patty Mills, so no matter what, I'm bringing him back. That's how he likes Cam Johnson. He likes Nick Claxton. Those guys, to me, unless you can get a haul for them, they're going to be here.
What are your top priorities for the Nets entering free agency and in this period where they could bring back players and add external players?
It's tough because, to me, it's Kuminga or bust. I don't really want Grimes. To me, I know I have to spend the money. So I'm going to just try to take on bad contracts. Like Porzingis would have been something I would have tried to do. Give me an expiring deal and a draft pick, and I'll take your player. And then try to sign people next year. I'm trying to get 1-year deals to get them off the books, get Cam off the books, get Claxton off the books, and try to have as much free cap for next year. Because this free agency class, outside of Kuminga to me, like
it's not. Yeah. It's weak. It's not. It's kind of top heavy in my opinion with the guys who are going to get super max. I think Miles Turner. I don't know if it's going to be a super max deal, but I think Miles Turner is going to get a significant deal wherever he goes this offseason. And I don't see it being Indiana. I think he can get more money on the outside market this offseason. But like even the middle of the road guys, there's some veterans like Malcolm Brogdon out there.
Bruce Brown.
He's not that interesting. Is Bruce Brown a free agent?
Bruce Brown is. Would you like to bring him back as a veteran?
Sean Marks won't bring him back.
I mean, Bruce Brown's a great piece on a good team. Like we were a good team when we had him. He makes no sense for us at this point. Yeah, like
Bruce Brown is not three who can shoot the 3 ball. Like I love Bruce Brown. He doesn't fit with what the Nets are trying to build though. Bring in young guys on cheap contracts and see if they can overperform. He doesn't fit the vision right now.
I love LeVert. It would make no sense to bring LeVert back, right? Like I love LeVert.
Yes.
He doesn't fit on a. Yeah. Again, these guys are role players on teams that make the playoffs year in and year out. They don't fit the Nets time frame right now. I think it would be the way to put it. Lou says, if I'm another team, I see I have 3 centers. I'm not offering too much for Claxton because I'll bank on you letting Sharp walk. I think you have to bring back Sharp though. Like I really think you got to bring back Sharp. I saw something. I think Bobby Marks said today, 3 years, $30 million for Sharp. I think you do everything you can to bring back Sharp and then try to find a trade partner for Claxton. That's what I would do. I don't think that's what's going to happen though.
Connor, to me, Sean Marks, and I'll relate this back to the draft. Sean Marks seems too committed to Nick Claxton. I feel like he is not willing to admit that he messed up giving Nick Claxton 4 years, $100 million, and he's not willing to go back on that and make up for what he did. I think he thinks that since he took on Nick Claxton's contract, he's committed to it. On draft night, if that really wasn't the way he felt, he would have gone after Malawach. If on draft night, that really wasn't the way he felt, I don't think Nick Claxton would have been a Net if Sean Marks isn't the GM of this team. I think that he is way too committed to Nick Claxton, and that might be a problem when it comes to bringing Day'Ron Sharp back into the building.
Well, keep in mind, he did also draft Day'Ron Sharp.
Yes.
Like, I don't know if Sean Marks a guy who's fond of drafting someone. I think it would be a really bad look to see you drafted. He was a second rounder, right? You was a second round pick on Day'Ron Sharp. Him, I think, outperform his value of being a second rounder. And then you let him walk when you have this much cap space and he's only going to cost you $10 million a year. I'm okay with the Nets rostering 3 centers this season. Ideally, you want Claxton gone. I don't think it's going to happen. I think we just have to swallow that pill.
I would like to live in a world where we could play Wolf and Day'Ron together at the 4-5.
You can.
In stretches, yeah.
I think there's a chance that is Clowney still on it. I think there's a chance Clowney's down on Long Island at points this season. I really do, especially if you re-sign Sharp and keep Claxton, and Wolf has a big start to the season.
There's going to be minutes, right? People get injured. Like, see, what net played the most minutes for the Nets last year?
Was it Jalen Wilson? Jalen Wilson?
There's going to be minutes. There's minutes out there, right? Like, people get hurt. No one plays 82. There'll be minutes to, play these guys in different permutations. Play Clowney at the 4 with Wolf at the 5. See if that works. Play Clowney and Sharp. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be minutes to get all these guys on the court together and try different things out.
So you'd be okay with 4 centers, though, pretty much. I say 4 centers, but I think Clowney and Wolf can really be Clowney and Sharp, I think can be in like a 4-5 tandem with the pair of Claxton and Wolf.
Oh, I would love to move Claxton. I'm just saying I have to live in reality, and reality is my GM. Just like my owner loves my GM loves Claxton. So I need to live in that reality. That's probably what we're going with.
Exactly. Chris B comes in, says thoughts about free agents, possibly like Nasri. Well, Nasri re-signed, so he's off the books. But Ty Jerome, Malik Beasley, Santi Aldama, Malcolm Brogdon, Tyus Jones, Josh Giddey. I like Santi Aldama. I think that's an option, though, if they don't bring back Sharp. You don't re-sign Sharp and then add another younger center who's under 25 like Santi Aldama. I think it's one or the other. Josh Giddey, I also like too. I think he's a 2 who can provide some value. But how many point guards are you going to roster? Out of these, I think Santi Aldama would make the most sense, and that's in the scenario where you don't re-sign Sharp. Thoughts there, Josh?
Yeah, I think you knocked it out of the park with Santi Aldama. He's not coming onto this team, especially not if Noah Clowney is not on sort of a two-way situation. I think Aldama brings a tremendous amount of upside. He's a project guy that with good coaching can become something much bigger. But right now, the way the next roster shakes out, especially if Wolf is playing at that high caliber role, especially if Wolf is competing for a starting job, Santi Aldama on the squad just makes zero sense to me.
Gary?
I like the idea of Santi Aldama. I don't know if he fits in the direction that we're going, but I think Aldama's a really good player. He just really hasn't gotten a chance to be that starting big. But it's an interesting name. How much does he get in the free agent? I mean, that's going to depend, right? Like my opinion on Santi Aldama depends on what the asking price. It's just like Grimes. Like, well, how much is that going to cost me? Ty Jerome is the other one. I don't really want Ty Jerome. I just know the Knicks want him. He's a New York City kid. I think, yeah. So the Knicks want him. So if I can get him just to kind of stick it to the Knicks, I would do that.
Absolutely.
Just so the Knicks can have him.
Yeah.
I would do that.
What would you say, like, what role do you think is the Nets' biggest need entering free agency?
This is like all of the above, right?
I think you need someone who can play make. That's my biggest thing. Like, you need another playmaker. Established.
You just drafted 3 of them that you hope were playmakers.
I don't think any of them are playmakers, though. That's the thing.
I think you guys are gonna look. I'm not saying that they should have taken Yegor over Maluak or Senge. What I'm saying is I think you guys are gonna be pleasantly surprised in Yegor.
I hope I am. I hope I am wrong about Yegor. I hope I am completely wrong about this draft class. As a fan, I would much rather be wrong when it comes to making a negative take compared to being right. I hope I'm wrong about all these players. I just don't see the upside in a 6'8" guard who can't rebound and shot 27% from beyond the arc. I just don't see it.
The shooting is, like I said, if he can consistently hit threes, if he can hit threes at a 35% clip, he's going to be a good player. If he can't, he's a backup guard.
And he had turnover problems as a point guard.
He's always handling the ball, though, right? Like you always have they say this about Harden. They say this about a lot of guys, Luka. But when you always have the ball in your hands, sometimes you got to turn the ball over. You know what I'm saying?
With Wolf, for example, it's more of a concern that he was a 7-footer who averaged 2 turnovers a game, over 2 turnovers a game.
Yeah. To me, like the point guard who always has the ball in his hand, turning the ball over twice. If he's looking to make plays, if he's looking to push the pace, like the turnovers are going to happen. Like it's like saying a power hitter strikes out a lot. Yeah, because he swings big, he misses big. Like it's one of those things. You kind of have to take the good with the bad on that one.
Yeah, I think it's either getting an established playmaker, or if you trade it's like I say these things, but then I'm just running around in circles because it's like what should happen versus what actually is going to happen. Like I keep saying, add a 3 and trade Cam Johnson. They're not doing that though. So the Nets, what the Nets need is they need players who are young and ascending, who they think they have upside, and that's what they're getting. I think a great fit is someone like I think Santi Aldama would be a good fit because he's been praised for his work ethic. He has a high basketball IQ, can adjust to different systems, and that's really all Jordi Fernandez wants in a player.
Connor, I think that you might be mistaking Saraf for Wolf because Saraf was the one averaging 2.8 turnovers last year. But correct me.
I am. Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it now. According to Google, Saraf had a 15% turnover percentage on plays
That's
he was
wild.
No,
That's,
Wolf had a
that's astronomically
It was
high.
Wolf
Yeah.
too, Connor?
Wolf had 2.3 turnovers a game.
Yeah,
Okay,
Wolf was
so
high.
Saraf had 2.8. So I guess both of these guys have turnover issues, and Demon. So 3 out of the 5 guys are giving the ball away. This is terrible.
Do you want to add another sharpshooter, Gary? Do you think that's a need?
Yes, clearly. It's especially the Nets love to, the Nets don't play a lot of pick and roll. They play a lot of penetrate and pitch. We definitely need more shooters. Right now, the only pure shooter, well, I guess man, but is Cam Johnson, and we all want him gone. Right? So yeah, we definitely need to
Gotta bring back Cam Thomas.
How quickly can Powell come in? Well, Thomas will be here, but Thomas is a guy. You don't want Thomas hanging out on the wing or standing out in the corner. You want Thomas with the ball in his hands, creating his own shot. Yeah. But
yeah,
Powell would be that guy. No, we definitely need more shooters, right? Like Clowney, Clowney is a guy that had to launch a lot of grenades last year, right? And the Nets offense was so putrid last year. Like me and Nate were talking about this. We're saying, like, yeah, maybe your best shot is him launching up a 3 5 seconds into the 24 like he's Pete Klay Thompson. Because if you pass up on that shot, you don't have anyone to create a better shot.
I think Clowney can develop. I think Clowney can develop into a good 3-point shooter. He just wasn't consistent last season. Like if you look at his overall clip from last year, it wasn't great. But if you go game by game, there were some games where he was knocked down.
He's got to be more consistent. Yeah,
before the injury, he was a good shooter.
Yeah. On the topic of pure shooting, Gary, I wanted to touch on you a little bit about this. This is not an external free agent. I think a guy that the Nets can pick up with the team option. But can Tyrese Martin possibly take that next step? At times, he was a great 3-point shooter, but I'm really not sure what his role looks like on the 2025 Nets team. Your thoughts there?
I mean, he's going to be on the team for that reason. Yes. Is he the best pure shooter in the world? No, but he can knock down enough where he's going to be on an NBA roster. I think that's the one thing he proved last year is that he's an NBA player, right? Like, is he going to get a bunch of minutes for a really good team? Probably not. But is he going to be in the NBA? Yeah, he's a good enough shooter. He's got a big enough, strong enough body where he can be in the NBA.
The Nets don't have enough 3-point shooting to say no to him.
Exactly.
That's the way I look at it. I mean,
ultimately what it comes to.
Yeah, outside of that, he's definitely not a guy you have to have on the roster. But just looking at, what the 3-point shooting margin was between the Nets and some of the better teams they played last year, you have to bring a guy who can shoot it well from beyond the arc like Martin back. You don't have many guys like that. Like, you're basically forced to in the modern NBA.
The way I look at Tyrese Martin is a good G League player and an okay NBA player. That's the way I look at Tyrese Martin, who provides you some 3-point value. I think he's back on this team because I think Jordy Fernandez really, really likes Tyrese Martin, and he stepped up when needed. When he was called upon when players went down, he stepped up. Do I trust him to do that for 80 games a season, 82 games a season? No. But is he a reliable depth option who's a reserve who can step up when needed? I think that's who Tyrese Martin is. I think that's what his role is at the NBA level, kind of a bench option who steps up when needed. And I'm more than happy to take on that role. And speaking of, actually, it's official. Did you guys just see this? The Nets officially exercised the team options on Keon Johnson, Tyrese Martin, Drew Timme, and Jalen Wilson. There's the
Drew Timme.
Jalen Wilson is a shocker to me. That's shocking to me. Yeah.
We spoke Tyrese Martin into existence, Gary. There you go.
So there it is. Officially exercised the team option on Keon Johnson, Tyrese Martin, Drew Timme, and Jalen Wilson.
All 4 of them is surprising to me because
interesting.
They just took 5 guys. I really don't know where Drew Timme plays into this team.
Well, they like Keon. Right, like, I don't like Keon, but like, again, I have to. This is not an ought thing. Ought they resign Keon Johnson? No. Are they going to? Yes, they are. So the Jalen Wilson thing, we did mention he played the most minutes of any Net last year, but like, why? Like, we're bringing in 5 new rookies. Why is Jalen Wilson coming back?
I think this has a significant impact on how they look at external free agency.
I was literally, before we went live, I was going to record a video on cut candidates, and Jalen Wilson was the first name that came to my head. Like, it's interesting that is he the depth 3? Like, is he going to be the one who comes off the bench for Cam Johnson to take
Not
his
before
spot?
Martin.
Do they have him higher than Martin? That's the question. Like,
well, like honestly, they're saying that Yegor can be a wing. I can't see it because he can't shoot, but I'd rather just give those minutes to Yegor at this point. Jalen Wilson's like 26 years old. Like, he's not young. You guys think he's young. He went to school for 5 years. He's not. Right? And this is his 3rd year in the NBA. I'd rather just give the minutes to Powell. I'd rather, and give him let Yegor play with a point guard. Like, put Yegor and Troy on the court together. See how that looks. And just letting Jalen Wilson clank threes and get a bunch of fouls. Like,
yeah, I can see Powell matching Wilson's 3-point shooting efficiency and being a better defender. Like, at that point, at that point, put your rookie out on the floor.
Compared to someone you've given two seasons now, pretty much in a big role to show what he is, especially last year. Gary, you know this? I knew Jalen Wilson was very, very unathletic. I think that's pretty much known. Jalen Wilson is a pretty unathletic 3 at the NBA level. He doesn't have one career dunk. I did not know that till I stumbled upon it the other day. Jalen Wilson has not had one career dunk at the NBA level.
Yeah, which is weird because he what is he, 6'7"? He's 6'7"?
Yeah, 6'7", probably.
He gets rebounds. So you tell me that never once did he get the rebound and just put it back up ever. Not one time. I get it, he's not an athlete, right? So he more often than not he's gonna get that blocked, right? Like, but like he gets rebounds, somewhat offensive rebounds. He's never put an offensive rebound back and dunked it ever.
No, never.
Yeah,
he just camps in the corner. That's what he does.
Jalen Wilson is the definition of a 3-and-D guy. And he can get you some rebounds, but he literally just is in the corner.
The rebounding isn't what we thought. Like, we thought he was going to be like a Josh Hart type rebounder. He's not.
Yeah. Who can get you a double-double a game. That's what they thought Jalen Wilson would be the scrappy player who can get you a double-double a night on 35-40% shooting from downtown.
See, I just saw someone in the chat talk about, I just dropped the call-in link to the show here if you want it. If you want to call in, feel free to do so. We'll take a couple callers here before we wrap up.
I know, Gary, we have a couple minutes left with you, so we'll get to some final questions in the chat. Lou says, how many roster spots do we have left once we bring back CT Sharp? I think we're full. We spoke about that earlier. Our roster spots are going to be minimized. Now that we talk about the team options being picked up, I still think, even though they picked up Drew Timmy's option, I think he's a guy we can see a lot of in Long Island this coming season. But still, the roster spots are limited, especially after you take into account they're most likely going to sign at least one external free agent who will play a role on this team. I mean, the spots are minimal, so you're going to really have to stand out if you're a name like Drew Timmy in the summer league to earn minutes on this squad.
Love the profile picture, Lou. I think that's Danny Wolf's brother after he got drafted, bawling his eyes out. But yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying before, Connor, right after you broke the news. How does this affect like free agency? Like, if you want to go out on the external free agent market, do you even have room to bring like maybe one guy in? Because you also add Terrence Mann to this roster, and Lou's right. We're getting up there to that 12th or 13th guy at this point.
Gary?
Yeah, that's what the roster is based, unless we make some moves, which I don't think. Marks is not a GM that likes to make meaningful moves, right? Unless it's highway robbery like the Bridges trade. I think this is what we have. I do think Mann is going to get dealt, so that'll open up that spot. But we're probably going to bring a player in, an expiring deal in for Mann, so that wouldn't even open up a spot, right? This is that's why the Jalen Wilson thing is so confusing to me. It's like, we can't just add more roster spots. What are we doing here? The Jalen Wilson thing is very surprising to me.
Yeah, primetime men comes
Sharp's
in.
not coming back. Maybe we're all saying Sharp's coming back. Maybe he's not.
Which I think is a miss.
Because
Yeah.
he's a homegrown guy. Like, This is
who's
you find-
outperformed his value.
That Connor's the
by
analytics
a
guy.
lot.
Defensively, the analytics love Day'Ron Sharp. I know it doesn't look like that, but the analytics defensively love Day'Ron Sharp.
And he could play offensively too. Like, he's not a liability on the offense. I just think moving on from Day'Ron Sharp does not send the right message within the building. Like, he was a second-round pick who outperformed the second-round pick label, and you don't give him a contract for $7 to $10 million a year.
So he's not getting paid more than 10, right? So what?
Yeah.
Like, what? It doesn't make any sense not to bring him back.
And you have this much cap space. Just do it. Just do it. Lou says the roster being full limits a Claxton trade because you would likely have to take multiple players back. I think he means like taking on a couple cap situations. Lou, you're right. Like,
I think if they do that, if they move Claxton, it looks like a 3-team deal with
Just
another
for
team
picks.
who has cap space getting involved
just
to help
for picks.
facilitate it, to take on more players. Because the Nets have all the cap space in the world. Cap space isn't an issue right now for the Nets. The issue with a Claxton trade would be taking on more role players, which is not what you want. Like, I'd trade Claxton for a pick straight up. I know you said you trade him for anything, Gary. Like, I don't want to be taking on a large contract. I just don't want to be taking on another player. I like the roster we have right now. I want to add someone else in free agency. I don't want to add another player via trade.
So does that go back on what you said about Terrence Mann?
I think Terrence Mann is on the team. I'm counting on him being on the roster this season. All my assumptions I'm making are under the belief that Terrence Mann is on the roster this season.
Gary?
I mean, I'm going to move forward with that until he's traded, but my gut instinct is Terrence Mann not going to be here.
Who's going to take that contract, though? Like, what do you think a landing spot for Terrence Mann looks like?
I have to look at the landscape. Oklahoma City, I think, is a team that could take him. I think Atlanta is a team that could take him, and Orlando, a team that needs another shooter, is a team that could take him.
Atlanta just took on the Porzingis contract, I think.
They have a $25 million trade exception.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would be third, but I would say OKC or Orlando would be the top two options. I think that he may go. And like we could trade him and take on like Jonathan Isaac's contract or something like that. It was an expiring deal that the money's gonna about match. If they get their shooter and we get an expiring deal.
Nobody else has much cap space we're supposed to be taking and be the team taking players. I understand that, and I said earlier that I expect the Nets to help facilitate 3-team deals, and they did that with Terrence Mann just based on how much cap space they have. But when you look at the landscape of the team right now, what I'm trying to say is the Nets don't need more players. That take in primetime, you see me going totally back. That take I made was before the Nets announced they were bringing 4 players back on team options who are role players. So yes, I am subtracting what I said, given the fact that it was an unsurprising move that they bring back 4 players on team options. I just don't think the Nets have many roster spots left. That's why I don't think they're going to take on any more players this season. That's the bottom line for me.
Yep. It all goes back to they shouldn't have taken all 5 of their freaking picks. Just move up, package them up. Do yourself a favor and get better quality guys.
This is why we need a lead facilitator. Like, where are they? And then, do we get this from LBL? Said maybe these guys are signed to facilitate a trade this summer. But, like, what's the value on any?
Who wants these people?
These guys have no trade value.
If the Nets didn't want them, they would have gladly let them walk. I mean, what could you possibly be receiving for like Drew Timmy and Jalen Wilson? Like a bag of peanuts? Like, who wants
There's
them?
no trade
LBL is a big Keon Johnson fan.
Okay, I know LBL is a big Zaire Williams fan. I know that too.
I like Zaire, but I imagine at this point Zaire's gone, right? Like we're not,
I
you know
like
what I'm
Zaire
saying?
as
Like,
well.
Yeah, I mean, for you bring back these 4, he's gone.
yeah. Which
Why
they
you
love
bring
Jalen
back
Wilson,
all
which I don't
4?
fully understand, but you know.
Absolutely. Anyways, we appreciate you all tuning in. Smash the like button, hit subscribe. Last chance to throw your questions in the chat here before we wrap up. Appreciate all of your support here on the show. Ton of content coming, so if you're new to this channel, make sure you like and subscribe. Turn on notifications to get the notification bells when we put out daily content, when we put out our videos. So appreciate you all. Get your final questions, comments, thoughts in the chat. Gary, thank you so much for joining us. You got any final thoughts? And again, let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me. The podcast is called BK Nothing But Nets Podcast. I got a co-host named Dylan who runs Nets Press on Instagram. We go live usually 3 or 4 days a week. I'm trying to go live close to every day once the summer league starts.
Yeah.
But it's BK Nothing But Nets Podcast. We go live a couple times a week, usually in the morning. So follow us there. Subscribe to us there. The closing thoughts is it's going to be another brutal season, but at least we won't have any shortage of non-shooting point guards.
That's always a bright spot.
And turnovers. And
We'll have plenty of turnovers.
Exactly. Gary, appreciate you. Josh, what else you got?
Sean Marks continues to get let off the hook. The Nets had a disaster of a draft and completely, threw all logic out of the window, and literally it felt like 5 individual drafts with the Brooklyn Nets where they were not piecing the previous picks together after you already took Demon and you already took Traore, and then you go out there and then draft another point guard at 26. Like, the pieces to the puzzle never added up. I'm all aboard the Sean Marks getting out of here train. But Connor, Gary, it was an absolute pleasure. Over an hour of talking to you guys on Nets basketball. Gary, really appreciate you coming on to the Brooklyn Boys show, and I had a blast.
Great talking with all you guys. Appreciate it. And hey, this season's going to be like no other for the Brooklyn Nets. I know we said that last year, but this one's really going to be interesting given the fact that the picks we've been hyping up for so long, the 5 first-rounders have been used. It's going to be really fascinating to see how all 5 of these guys fit with the Nets organization, and then obviously see what they do in free agency, bringing back 4 players that we got to break the news live on the air with: Tyrese Martin, Keon Johnson, Jalen Wilson, Drew Timme. Going to be interesting how that plays out for the team from a rotation standpoint. So a lot of moving pieces this year in Brooklyn, and it's going to be very interesting to see how it all pans out. But nevertheless, appreciate you all. Smash the like button. Hit subscribe for Josh and Gary. I am Connor Long signing off right here on the Brooklyn Boys Show. And as always, go Nets.